in the airport, is it?
No, emergency airport.
Finance meeting. It's 6:03. I would ask folks to step out in the hallway if you want to have conversations. For now, we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll ask Councilmember Gully to lead us in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll take a roll call. Councilmember Gully.
Here.
Councilmember Ash McPherson.
Here.
Councilmember Steele.
Here.
Councilmember Cummings.
Present.
Councilmember Zaluski.
Here.
Councilmember McDermott. Here. Council President Mantello here. We have all 7 present. Before we go into the public forum for the finance, I just want to make an announcement that many folks may have heard of the fire yesterday that occurred on Jay, and our friend and former colleague, Deb Garrett, unfortunately lost much in that fire and is temporarily living in a hotel. If anyone would like to assist Deb and her family with any assistance, any help, any financial assistance, there is a website, and I apologize, I have it right here. There we go. Actually, you could mail it to Trip, actually at 415 River Street, 3rd floor, Troy, 12180. So if anyone would like to help the Garrett family out, that would be wonderful. Okay. We'll go right into the public forum. If anyone would like to speak on any item on this evening's agenda, I would encourage you to come to the podium, state your name and address, and you will have 5 minutes. Okay, the public forum to the finance meeting is over. We'll go right into Resolution 13. Resolution 13. Resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement by and between the City of Troy and MXI. Council President Mantello at the request of the administration. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Steele. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Zaluski. Andy, do you mind, or Renee maybe, are you here on this one, just walking us through what MXI plans to do? And I know a couple council members were curious, and
Just turn this audio. You need to speak like right into it, otherwise the audio will pick you up.
there you go.
Good evening.
Good evening.
MXI is the vendor that we worked with last year, and we worked with them on a quote basis. We put it out to RFP this year, and we had them as well as another vendor that had applied, and they had the better option offered to us, and the pricing was considerably lower as well. We had excluded some vendors from this process because there's a high risk to us if we have downline problems with the materials that are being disposed of, and we know that they handle the materials responsibly. So when we wrote the RFP, we excluded vendors that had a history of violations so that we weren't worrying about our downline violations for materials that we can be responsible for paying for fines and fees on 15 to 20 years downline.
Okay, and the contract itself, I think the terms,
So the terms were attached with it, as well as the scope of the work that they would be doing. The scope will be very similar, if not identical, to what they were doing for us in 2019. The difference and the reason that it's not a completed contract is because we have to set the dates with them, and they will not set dates until we know that they're approved. And so the sample that was attached is a sample contract based on us approving the dates, and then it will be set to the Troy specifications once we have approved them.
Okay. Did anyone have any questions? Yes, Councilmember Ash McPherson.
Okay, thank you. Renee, can you just tell me on the last page, it says State of Virginia, County of Washington, is that where they're coming from or where they're sending the stuff or?
They have two facilities, one is in Pennsylvania and one is in Washington. Their materials are handled in several different facilities. I have their entire binder if you'd like to see them. It depends on what the materials are that they're handling. Some of them are combusted, some of them are recycled. There's about 5 different handling processes. Some are remixed. And so depending on what the downline use is going to be or the disposal process is which facility it will go to.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Further questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution 13 carries 7-0. Resolution 14, resolution appointing commissioners of deeds for the city of Troy. Council President Mantello. I'll take a motion in a second and then I'll amend. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilmember Gully. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second, Councilmember Steele. I'll make a motion to amend Resolution 14 to add Michael Barrett. I make a motion. And then second, Councilmember Gully. Discussion on the amendment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Amendment carries 7-0. On the amended resolution, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Councilmember Steele. Do I have a second? Councilmember Zaluski. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I'll abstain.
Okay. Resolution 14 carries 6-0-1. Resolution 15, resolution appointing city marshals for the city of Troy. Council President Mantello, Councilmember Gully, Councilmember Ash. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Councilmember Gully motion, Councilmember Ash McPherson second. Discussion. Okay, I'm gonna take slow roll. Councilmember Gully,
Yes.
Councilmember Ash McPherson,
Yes.
Councilmember Steele,
No.
Councilmember Cummings,
No.
Councilmember Zaluski,
No.
Councilmember McDermott.
Abstain.
Okay, the resolution fails 3-3-1, because,
Were you recording an aye vote?
oh, I apologize. Aye. The resolution fails 3-3-1. Because that resolution fails, I will be sending a letter to Judge Turner to state that there are no marshals due to, if you look at the public officers list, section 5, judicial officers in terms of holding over after expiration of term do not qualify for holdover, so there will be no marshals, and that letter will immediately be sent to Judge Turner. I will read the public officers law. Every officer except a judicial officer, which this is, a notary public, a commissioner of deeds, and an officer whose term is fixed by the Constitution having duly entered shall, unless the office shall terminate or be abolished, hold over, and continue to discharge his or her duties until successor shall be chosen. The office shall be deemed vacant for the purpose of choosing his or her successor. An office so holding over one or more entire terms shall, for the purpose of choosing a successor, be regarded as having been newly chosen for such terms. Stating that, additionally, the charter specifically states under the appointment of marshals that the city council, and I will also read that particular section, appointment of city marshals, the city council shall, within 10 days after the 1st of January each year, or whenever vacancies occur, shall, under New York State law, is mandatory. Shall used is in the mandatory sense. It's not may. It is shall. So on two fronts.
Resolution 16.
I'm sorry, this is on the discussion. I'm just stating for the record that Judge Turner will be receiving a letter that there are no holdovers. There will be no commissioners, or I apologize, no marshals as of Resolution 15. And per the charter, we shall appoint. So there are no holdovers, and it goes down. We'll go to resolution.
Council President,
Yes.
I
Council members.
would like to call up the city's corporation counsel, Jim Caruso, for a ruling based on the city charter with regard to the continuation of city marshals.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you all?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Okay, so,
Speak into the mic, please.
yes, I will. Thank you. First of all, I don't believe that the city marshals are public officials, the public officers law. I'll do some further research. I don't believe it's applicable. Article 7 of Part 4 of the city charter, subsection B, states that the city council shall, within 10 days after the 1st of January of each month, or whenever vacancies occur in the office of the city marshal, appoint as many persons as may be necessary, not exceeding 5 initially, unless a greater number be prescribed, et cetera, et cetera. They shall hold office for 2 years and until their successors shall be appointed and have qualified, unless sooner removed or suspended for cause as herein. They are not being removed. And
Their
If-
term has expired.
if you look at the resolution, it's to appoint, not reappoint.
Correct.
They
Their
continue
term
to,
is
and
expired.
I respectfully disagree. The
The
chart,
oath only carries, Jim, until December 31st, 2019. That was their term. Until 10 days, they continue. So they are on for 10 days. After 10 days, they're done.
all right, so you're saying the oath trumps the city charter?
Public officers law trumps city charter.
They
There's no
shall
holdovers.
hold office for 2 years
2
and
years,
until
their
their
term ends.
successor shall be appointed, or they should be removed or suspended for cause. They are,
Within 10 days. We shall, not may, we shall, within 10 days, appoint city marshals. That application pertains to the term of office, which ended December 31st, 2019.
if you want to hang your hat on the word shall, it further goes on to say they shall hold office for 2 years and until their successors shall be appointed. And we're not appointing successors except in one case, the following resolution.
Right, and follow me.
I
the
can't
New
stop
York
you from
State-
writing a
Yep,
letter to Judge Turner.
Yep.
I will take direction from the city council if they want me to write a letter explaining to Judge Turner why I believe that you are incorrect in your interpretation. I certainly respect your interpretation.
And
However, I do
respect yours,
disagree.
too.
Thank you.
you.
Yes.
And just for the record, New York State Public Officers Law does trump our charter in terms of the holdover after expiration of term. And every officer, except a judicial officer, a notary public, a commissioner of deeds, these are judicial officers. There is no holdover. But after the expiration of such term, which their terms through the oath, as you know,
Mhm.
ended December 31st, 2019, shall be deemed vacant for the purpose of choosing his or her successor.
Well, I'm going to respectfully disagree that these people are judicial officers. And I think Judge Turner's going to not agree they're judicial
Well,
officers.
Judge Turner will have the final say, and I will be sending a letter to
Okay.
Judge Turner.
Thank you. Please CC me on that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely, Mr. Caruso. So, in my opinion, and I have consulted with many folks on this, my guess was potentially this would go down. And I actually talked to the minority about this in terms of a holdover. I was unaware of the New York State Public Officers Law. It's very clear, Section 5, I would look it up. These are judicial officers. They clearly are marshals who report to the judge, and I will be sending a letter to the judge regarding their expiration of term and the public officers left. So that's for the record. Stating that went down 331. We'll go to resolution 16. Resolution appointing a successor marshal of the Troy City Court, Councilmember Zaluski, Councilmember Steele, Councilmember Cummings, Councilmember McDermott. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Motion, Councilmember Steele.
Second?
Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Zaluski. Discussion.
Council President.
Councilmember Ash McPherson.
So I'd just like to ask on the resolution 16, you're appointing successor marshal. Who are we looking at?
It's in the resolution. John Gordon.
The second whereas? Second whereas? No, I'm just saying I don't have my, hold on. Got it. So you're looking to take Sarah McDermott off and to put in a John Gordon?
Well, Councilmember Ash McPherson, technically, in my opinion, obviously, Mr. Caruso disagrees and Judge Turner will be the deciding factor. But under state law, we do not have marshals right now. There is no term, there is no holdover. It's clear in the charter. It says shall, not may. So saying that, in my opinion, this particular resolution replacing someone who is not there is a nullity,
Well, Council President.
the way it reads.
Council President, that's where I was going with this.
Right.
Because I don't know, why are you appointing somebody when we don't have marshals? I don't know. who
Correct.
we do.
Council President,
Councilmember Zaluski.
the majority's contention is in alignment with the Corporation Council that we do have marshals right now. We have marshals, and they're continuing to serve based on the city charter.
Okay.
So
And
now this is a secondary action being taken with one of the serving marshals.
Council President.
yes, and Councilmember Ash McPherson.
So I'd like to ask, why are we asking to remove Sarah McDermott?
Well, their contention apparently
No,
is
Council
that.
President, I'd like them to answer.
Yeah. Why?
Council President.
Councilmember Cummings.
It's complicated. There are many compounding factors. I've spoken privately with Councilman Gully about many of these factors. I think others have spoken with anyone who's called us and asked us, but essentially there were standards that were not upheld with regard to how we expect our marshals to behave.
Was a complaint filed with Judge Turner? There's the whole process.
I think he's speaking.
I'm asking them.
A point of order, Councilman Cummings has the floor.
Okay, that's fine,
Sure.
Councilmember.
At any rate, us being the appointing authority chose that it wasn't appropriate to reappoint given the behavior. And I guess further, we did conduct a wide call for applications to this position. We got 5 resumes and did not receive a resume from this candidate until well after the submission deadline.
Council President, could we?
And then if you read into that resume and compare them, it's also sort of apparent when you compare the qualifications of the people that we are looking to appoint. They generally have deep knowledge and background in conflict resolution and in dealing with a really tough situation that is an eviction. And we just didn't see that in the resume provided by Ms. McDermott well after the deadline.
Well, a
Council
couple
President,
things.
could we ask?
Corporation Council.
Council President, I'm going to respectfully request that we go into executive session with respect to this issue. there is some sensitivity to what might be discussed, and I'd like that to be done in executive session, please.
I appreciate that. That was going to be my suggestion.
Well,
Council President.
couple things. I believe if we are to go into any type of detail, we should go into executive session, stating that we aren't. A couple things, if you read the charter, there's a whole process. Sarah McDermott, as the city marshal, is entitled to a public hearing. There is no complaint. Is there a complaint filed with Judge Turner?
Judge Turner was notified of the issue.
Okay.
It's in his discretion. That being said, it's in our discretion now.
Okay, but the judge of said court shall have the power to make rules and regulations to be entered in full upon the docket of said court proceeding, attendance and duties as the court may deem necessary and proper. And a violation of said rules and regulations by said marshals or any of them is hereby constituted a cause for suspension, bear with me, and removal from office after appropriate hearing. If a marshal be unable to, for any reason, to discharge his or her duties as such, the council may appoint a qualified person, et cetera, stating that.
Council President.
There's a whole process. The judge, obviously, Ms. McDermott, has been entitled no hearing. And I have to add, in the 4 years that I've been here, Ms. McDermott was hired as a marshal, the only woman city marshal in the history of Troy. Not one complaint has risen to me or been filed or been told in terms of landlords, tenants, et cetera, and over 2,000 cases, I believe. So in 4 years, over 2,000 cases, not one complaint, until obviously the politics of this unfortunately rears its ugly head. I spoke to members of the majority. The first was, oh, you know, there's a complaint in about Sarah. I know nothing of that complaint. Stating that I believe the person that investigated that complaint tonight, the proposal is to hire his brother, a relative. Number two, the second complaint.
Excuse me.
We're
getting into
We're
the area
confusing
that-
apples and oranges. Let me just say this, please. We're not removing Ms. McDermott. We are replacing her. Now, let's think this out, okay? In the law, you can argue opposing claims when you try to make your case. But in this case, Council President, you just got through saying on 15, we have no city marshals, and it's our duty to appoint one, and that's exactly what they're doing
That's
here.
not what Ms. Rezzo said.
That's what they're doing
The
here.
Rezzo states to replace.
Replace,
Under my opinion, there are no marshals.
there is
So
no,
in
they are not
terms of
removing,
replacing-
they are,
Correct, replace.
they're
As
replacing
successor.
a successor. They're
There-
following the
What
language.
it says in the charter.
Right, we're
But
following the
it
chart.
says to replace Sarah
Not
McDermott.
remove, but
Right,
replace.
replace.
And there's a
In
difference.
In my opinion,
Well,
Sarah
you
is
have one
not a
opinion.
marshal
You
right
have
It doesn't.
now.
It says appoint as
your-
successor.
Resolution, it states
That's your
replace
opinion,
in the
Council
reso.
President
That's the
Mansky.
wishes.
Correct. In the resolution,
I would like to make a point of order.
yes. You
I would-
can't make a point of
I would
order,
like
Jim.
to
This is
suggest,
parliamentary.
again, respectfully, we go into executive session. I think that is the most prudent thing, and I think when you hear the reasons why I'm suggesting that, you will agree with me. There is some sensitivity here that we're looking to stave off potential embarrassment.
Fair enough. Here's the deal. Go into specifics of your complaint. I am talking on the merits of your resolution. Your resolution states, the city council wishes to replace Sarah McDermott as a marshal of the court. Sarah McDermott, in my opinion, we do not have marshals. The public officers law is clear. The city charter is clear through shall. There is no
So
holdover
maybe read the
for
rest of that sentence.
these positions. So what I'm saying,
So then
Is that
she's not
this
entitled to any hearings.
particular, this particular is null and
May I have
void.
the
She's not
floor?
entitled to any hearings if she's not an.
Now, therefore, be it resolved that the city council hereby appoints John Gordon as a successor marshal to the Tri-City Court in place of and instead of Sarah McDermott.
She's not there. That's
That's
what I'm
fine.
trying
So-
to say.
oh.
Okay, so we have
That's
one.
what it means.
So that's my opinion.
Great.
Further discussion,
I would just like to ask.
Councilmember
yeah,
Steele.
Historically, 4 years ago, when you folks appointed city marshals, what was the time frame then?
I don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't within 10 days, and I don't believe that.
Then they shouldn't have
Did,
been.
yeah, and did you bring in the current marshals and you gave them a public hearing and all that as you appointed your own people? Because.
I'm not sure what you're getting at, council member, because.
Well, there were qualified
Okay.
city marshals in office, and
Okay,
and when you folks took the majority, you appointed your own. You had no right. So
what I'm saying.
so why
you're-
is one
right.
person entitled to a public hearing and all sorts of?
I didn't bring up the sensitive matters. Listen, we have a resolution in front of us. Councilmember Ash asked why you were replacing her. I did not bring up sensitive matters. I did not bring up a potential complaint or discussion going to Judge Turner. That's not me. That's the majority who apparently is claiming that there are sensitive issues relating to Ms. McDermott, and that's why you're replacing her. I didn't say that. So saying that, if you are saying there are sensitive matters and she should be replaced, et cetera, there's a process if you are doing that, but
It's
you
called
are not.
appointment, and we're attempting
Correct.
to appoint.
Then
So
don't
let's
bring
take it-
up sensitive matters. Correct. But
Council
Councilmember
President.
Steele, don't bring up sensitive matters, et cetera, about a person and a person's character when she's been there for 4 years, has had no check marks, no black marks, nothing brought to my attention or the city council's attention or Judge Turner, because we would have been
I think
informed.
council's
So stating that,
President.
I think you're incriminating a person without needing to have to do that. And I find that very insulting.
and I wish that you had
Councilmember
listened to
Zaluski.
Council
Thank you.
President Pro Tem.
So first of all, the issue is pretty simple. We had an application process for all the appointments of the city council. It was posted weeks before the deadline. The deadline was December 13th. The 5 marshals that were interested in having serve, either continuing or being appointed as new, all applied within that time frame. Sarah McDermott did not apply during that time frame. So we don't have to talk about any issues with
Well-
regard to her situation. I have the floor right now.
Oh, I thought we were done.
So we don't have to talk about any personnel issues, anything with regard to her character. We had a process. She didn't follow the process. It's fairly simple. Everyone else did. She apparently loves the job, but she didn't love it enough to send her application in enough time. I see that you're circulating letters of recommendation for her as of a few minutes before the council meeting. That would have been very smart for her, and when she's applying, to include letters of recommendation that would make her case stronger. But unfortunately, the application didn't come in, and I still, even though it came in late and it didn't come in through the proper channels that the application process called for, which was a specific email address that would go to multiple people that would be reviewing applications. It came just to me. I still, as I promised to her, forwarded it out to my colleagues for review. And it's up to them whether they wanted to proceed with that or not. It was after the deadline, and folks said, let's not proceed. In terms of everything else, I've asked, we've had conversations, some of us, myself, with some of the members of the minority, and I've said, obviously it's a sensitive issue. There's no need to be talking about personnel issues publicly. Let's keep it calm. Let's not turn this into a circus. I think, on social media, it has turned into a little bit of a circus over the last few days. There's not much more to say. Let's just have the vote and move on. That's my opinion.
That's great advice. Saying that, a couple of
Question.
things. there is no legal standing on a caucus's deadline. That's your deadline. That's not ours as the city council. The city council as a whole did not have a deadline for applications. We asked for applications. Did we have a deadline? I didn't have a deadline. Did you have a deadline, Councilmember Gully? That is your deadline. So holding a particular member to a deadline that has absolutely no legal standing, nowhere in this reso did it state, or nowhere, should I say, in the legal notice, did it have a deadline? Must have your application by such and such. So that's your deadline that the caucus put in artificially or whatever as your deadline, but it has no legal standing in terms of us voting on this.
Council
So
President,
to hang, I have the floor right now, so to hang your hat on a deadline that the caucus puts into place has no legal standing or bearing on this reso. So if that's what the caucus wants to hang their hat, this is the road, unfortunately, that I went down with the caucus. One, it was, well, you know, we have this complaint. Well, the complaint, we poo-pooed that. Number two, the sensitive issue. Okay, eventually that was poo-pooed. And then eventually it is what it is. Say it for what it is. Now you're saying it's because of a deadline that the caucus put in. Let's say it for what it is. This is politics. You don't want to appoint the only woman city marshal in the 100th year of the women's suffrage. On top of it, the only women marshal in the history of the city of Troy in the 100th year of the women's suffrage because of politics. That's all I'm saying. Just say it for what it is. Sarah has never,
Call the
ever,
question.
to my knowledge, ever had a check mark
Let's call the
against
we have a
her.
motion to call the
So
question.
Call the
stating that,
question.
Councilmember Steele,
Call the question. I think we should, time to vote.
we can vote when we want. Further discussion.
Council President,
Councilmember Gully.
We have to take a vote on the calling of the question.
Councilmember Gully has every right. I preside and I am calling on Councilmember Gully to speak.
Motion to
Order
appeal
now.
the chair's ruling.
Councilmember
Motion to
Gully-
appeal the chair's ruling.
Councilmember
Second.
Gully
You have to
has
take-
every
Second.
right
It's
to
been
speak.
seconded. Do
Councilmember
you agree or
Gully
disagree with
has
the chair's
every
ruling?
right to speak.
You have to call out
You
ayes.
can't disagree with a ruling to allow someone to
Robert's
speak.
Rules of Order,
Councilmember
please.
Gully, please speak.
No,
I'm
We
presiding and I
have a
am
motion to call
calling
the
on
question.
Councilmember Gully.
We have a
to
motion on
speak.
the floor to call the
To
question.
call the question. We're in
Which
a
is the
slow
vote.
roll. Councilmember Gully, you have
You need
every.
to take
I
a
know,
two-thirds
we're in a
vote
slow
on
roll.
calling the
Sorry.
question.
Councilmember
Okay.
Gully, you have every right
All
to
right,
speak.
so-
Just speak.
Jim,
I can
we're
speak.
following
I can
Robert's
speak.
rules of order.
I can
I-
speak.
You have to follow Robert's rules of order.
I
And we
am
just
speaking.
motioned to appeal your
You
ruling.
are appealing a ruling of allowing someone to speak. You
Because-
talk about
Because Councilwoman
circus.
Steele just
Talk
called
about
the
a
question.
circus.
We must
So
follow
what
our
is
own
the
rules.
question? What is the question?
Calling the question means
Okay.
she's saying that she wants to
What is
vote.
the
We need
question?
two-thirds of the members to
Okay.
decide if we want to vote right now
Okay.
or
We
not.
want to proceed
ahead.
with the vote
Go
rather
ahead,
than listen
council
to,
member, then listen to other colleagues?
no, to listen to you talk about circus.
Councilmember Gully.
Council President
wants to
Mantell is
speak.
out of time anyway, so maybe we can let the rest of the council members
Councilmember
speak.
Gully, I do
Are we
recall
gonna vote?
one of the rules allowing council members to speak. So Councilmember Gully, please,
Could I-
We still need to
Point of
vote on
order.
calling the
Are
question.
we in a roll call at this point in time?
we are not.
Okay. thank you.
Councilmember Gully.
We still need to call the question. All you have to do is take a
Unless you
roll call.
withdraw.
vote.
Do you
I
withdraw?
Okay, she
I will
Thank
withdraw.
you. Councilmember
But could
Steele
we adhere to our
withdraws.
own rules?
Councilmember
Oh,
Gully.
thank you.
Councilmember Gully. And listen, this is a finance. We can discuss. That's what this is about. Go ahead, Councilmember.
Great way to start.
Yeah.
This is probably exactly what we were probably looking to avoid as a group. When we come to these tables, we come as a majority, and I know you have your privileges as a majority and a minority. And these are the two committees that we have when we should have one committee, 7 people working towards the city. I understand your situation politically with the marshal appointments. It's been historically done, but there's also been some middle ground where people have taken in both people. And here we are in our first meeting fighting fiercely over a person that has been a marshal for 4 years.
You know, last week we had somebody mention the city clerk and how they wanted somebody who had the experience and the value in the position. And here we have somebody who's handled over 2,000 cases, actually done their part in their position. Outside of that, yes, she has been a strong, loyal person with the Republican Party and has worked with the council people, as you have had your people work with the council people to move forward and move your campaigns to where you are today. And congratulations for being here. But now we come to a situation where we're fighting over somebody who is, you know, hey, listen, it is the first woman marshal in Troy. She has served 4 years on the term. She has done a good job. You bring up that picture. I know you're pretty sensitive. I'm not. I personally don't see any indications of anything that would lead to say that incriminated anyone or anybody in any area at any time. I just see a general thing that doesn't pull me to that level. So to use that as your reason is truly false. Let's face it. This is a political position. It is about politics. And until we start to work together, now I can't see the harm. I don't see the harm with having the marshals there and allowing the judges and the landlords to work with people that they enjoy working with, that have experience in this position and are doing well by their job. But then we try to push it to a different level. And if this is going to continue for 2 years, I'll have to get a bottle of Excedrins. I just think that I understand the majority's position. I do. I truly do. Because it's your majority, you have the right. But in that right, you should have the value of trying to work together so we can get past. This is marshals. This is frivolous compared to what we're going to go through over 2 years. And now we're appointing somebody who we say has better background than the person who served over 2,000 cases, handled many different obstacles during that time with different people, have worked with the judges with Judge Turner, who says that she's a value to the program. So I agree with one thing. I just like the honesty part of it. I don't mind being told it's political, but I think it has to be honest. It can't be all this falsifying, backdoor, trying to move around. Let's just talk about it and get real with everybody. If it's political, just say it's political. That's what you want to do. We'll take the vote. We'll see where it goes. But just don't try to make it something it's not and sit here and argue for a half hour, wasting the city people's time on this very small issue when we have bigger fish to fry as a 7-person council, not a 4-person majority, not a 3-person minority, but a 7-person council. For God's sakes, this is our first meeting. Why don't we try working together and getting some resolve and communicate well so we can grow instead of just keep this separation between us that I've seen for 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Gully. Further discussion? I'm going to call further. We're good. I'm going to call a slow roll. Councilmember Gully.
No. This is on 16.
Resolution 16.
I would let you go for a whole quarter.
Councilmember Ash McPherson. Councilmember Steele.
Yes, and in explaining my vote, I would just like to say a couple things. First of all, I'm saddened that we have to go through this kind of thing. I think we were attempting to avoid this. I think that President Pro Tem Zalewski attempted to do that as well. But, you know, being honest with each other, this is no different than 4 years ago when you guys kicked our guys out and you put your guys in. So I guess that's the way it is in politics. I wish we didn't have to make it such a circus. I would hope that our city council meetings could move forward in a much more civil manner. I think that's what Mr. Zalewski was attempting to do prior to the meeting. It would be nice if we could resolve these things as reasonable human beings and not turn it into theater. And that's what I think has happened tonight. And as a woman, just let me say, I resent the fact that we are hanging our hat on appointing a woman who was not qualified when she was appointed for the job. But, and if you look at the resumes, you can see it. But just because she was a woman, she was appointed. I think we've evolved in our society far enough that we should be looking at someone's qualifications, not their gender. So I vote yes.
Great, thank you, Councilmember Steele. Councilmember Cummings.
I'll vote yes.
Councilmember Salewski.
Yes.
Councilmember McDermott.
Yes.
Council President Mantella, I'll explain my vote in just a couple of comments, a couple of things. To state that someone is not qualified and then 4 years later state that, well, someone else is more qualified after 2,000 cases, it doesn't jive. And as Councilmember Gully mentioned, a couple of things. Just say it for what it is. I heard the deadline. I heard a picture. I heard a complaint. Certainly, Sarah McDermott has done an amazing job for the past 4 years. I never once heard from Judge Turner, who oversees her actions, or any landlord, tenant, etc. In fact, I heard the opposite, certainly. I have seen, and I will not state this, but I have seen a couple posts from a couple of my colleagues that I feel certainly probably would be considered over the line, talking about impeaching a president, for lying about having oral sex with an intern, not serious. That's a little over the line in my book. So to point to issues that certainly what I feel it does come down to politics. And Councilmember Steele, she said this, listen, this is about the majority wanting their people, then say that. Don't, talk the talk, walk the walk. Say it for what it is. It's politics. Saying that on two fronts. As I mentioned earlier, Resolution 15, certainly the holdover, I made that very clear. I will be sending a letter to Judge Turner. It's very clear in the Public Officers Law, Section 5, that judicial officers, which now I'm hearing city marshals are not judicial officers, which I don't know what you would consider a judicial officer who reports to the judge, saying that they are judicial officers, there are no holdovers. So that's number one. Number two, the charter is very specific, shall be appointed within 10 days. So shall is mandatory in this case. And then lastly, I will ask the council, I actually do have a question, and I don't know if you're willing to answer that question, but saying that I would like to know either now or at a later date how Judge Turner was notified, because certainly that notification should have been copied to the full council if you're going to inform a judge of something that you feel is very serious. It should have been informed to all of the council. So I would be curious, A, how Judge Turner was notified and why the council, I certainly was not copied or informed on any notification that went to Judge Turner. And then lastly, this resolution, essentially in my eyes, you have the votes, I'm voting no. And quite frankly, 4-3, you have one marshal right now, in my opinion, and that is John Gordon. You do not have 5 marshals. You only have 1 marshal per the Public Officers Law, which obviously is very clear about holdovers and the charter. So I'll be sending a letter to Judge Turner. And with that, the resolution carries. Yeah, we voted. The resolution carries 4-3.
Council President,
Councilmember
I would
Gully.
just like to commend Councilwoman Steele on her honesty.
Thank you. I agree. Yep. Resolution 17, resolution confirming appointments to the Troy Industrial Development Authority, IDA, Council President Mantello at the request of the administration. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Councilmember Zaluski. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Steele. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution 17 carries 7-0. I will take a motion to adjourn. Motion, Councilmember Ash McPherson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilmember Gully. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Finance is closed, and we have a meeting in about 12 minutes.
Yeah, it keeps going off. You got that.
Second.
You got it.